So, one of these Russian trolls rattled the nuclear saber in the comments of a recent video. And I thought it might be worth mentioning the reasons why I'm not worried about Russian nuclear attacks. I'm here in Kyiv. The Russians have said that they are moving tactical nuclear weapons into Belarus. We know that Belarus was the axis of attack against Kyiv in the opening salvo of the war. We know that it's right on the border, right? Why am I not concerned? There are several reasons. There's a political reason, I think. The Russians know that if they use nuclear weapons, it's going to be a problem. Their greatest political allies right now, India and China, on whom they depend for all their oil sales, which is the basis of their economy and the money that Putin needs to wage this war, have told them pointedly, point 8 of the Chinese 12-point peace plan prohibits the use of nuclear weapons. And they've said, don't do it. Then there's the reality that what the world would do. The world wouldn't even have to go nuclear. A nuclear detonation could result in a conventional response from the United States. And that conventional response would be potentially tremendous and have devastating consequences for Russia's ability to wage this war, or even for its ability to continue the Russian Federation. 23 of the 24 states in the Russian Federation are not Russian, and a lot of them are chafing at the bit to get away. It becomes an existential crisis then. And then there's the reality that when you run your country based on theft, fraud, and lies, you don't make anything. You can't make anything that works. Last November, Russians tested a nuclear torpedo in the Arctic. According to U.S. military intelligence, that exercise failed. We see the state of Russian equipment today, these cheap Chinese tires. Warehouses that are supposed to have 80,000 winter uniforms in them but are empty because some general stole the money and didn't get the uniforms. It's expensive to maintain a nuclear arsenal. Russia's purported to have the biggest nuclear arsenal in the world. Ooh. But you know what? What do they spend on maintenance? Do you know? 20% of what the U.S. spends on maintenance of its nuclear arsenal. 20%. And you figure half of that money's getting stolen, which means they're only spending 10%. Well, nuclear devices are not something you put on a shelf and you can take down 30 years later and they just work. Give me a break. Those original Soviet layer cake devices, they used a lithium deuteride 6 fissile trigger. Now, if I remember right from my college physics classes, that's got a half-life of 12.4 years. None of those work, guys. None of them work. Why do you think Putin is screwing the warheads off of those nuclear devices and retrofitting them with conventional explosives, or even just lobbing the empty shells at Ukraine in an attempt to exhaust Ukrainian air defense? Could it be that none of their devices work? Now, it's unlikely that it's none, right? Probably some of them are still in functioning order, working order. But I'll bet you dollars to rubles, An attempt to move or launch any of those devices is as likely to irradiate Moscow or Minsk as it is Ukraine. And they know it. And that's why this is all bluff and bluster. And it doesn't bother me one bit.